Terah Harrison on with me. And again, we're going to talk about building trust, connection through safe conversations. And I'm really going to let you take the lead, because if anybody here has purchased the program Beyond Attraction, you know that Terah is the co-author of Beyond Attraction. So she knows what she's talking about when it comes to building trust and connection with women. And I don't really need to say much more, because she is going to take this over and tell us about everything we need to know about how to connect and build trust with women.
Okay. Well, so in another podcast, Marnie, you and I talked about Attune, which was developed by the Gottmans. And I love the Attune tactic. I also love the safe conversations tactic. So I'm going to go over Attune just really quick. So for anyone who hasn't heard us talk about that or know what that is or read the program yet, can just know what it is. And then I want to go into safe conversations, because I really like safe conversations as a practical way to apply the Attune tactic. So Attune is an acronym that stands for awareness. I'm reading this: turning toward, tolerance, understanding, non-defensive listening, and empathy. And this is what the Gottmans found in their love lab are the things that needed to build trust and make connection for men, for women, for everybody. They need this attunement.
So even talking to another man, they would need this type of...
All of it. Yes. Yes, absolutely. I mean, if you want to have a superpower in communication, then listening to what we're talking about today is going to give you that. And in fact, what I love about safe conversations is that this tactic is used in FBI negotiations, special forces.
And you were saying military, which is so interesting.
It is, yes. So there's this really cool book. It's called, it's by Chris Voss, and it's called Never Split the Difference. And he's an FBI hostage negotiator. And what he uses, he calls it tactical empathy, but it's the same thing as safe conversations. And so it builds trust with anybody. So you can use this in relationships, but you can also use this in business. I teach safe conversations workshops to corporations. So I recently did one with Cox Automotive, and I was teaching people who have to go and collect on loans with automotive industry. I was teaching them safe conversations because money is very triggering for people.
Yeah.
And things can get violent too. So I think that it's a great tactic to use in all areas of your life. And that's why I wanted to talk about it. But yes, it definitely, absolutely builds trust and connection with women. And the biggest thing around it is that our deepest need as human beings is to feel heard. That's what we all need. And we all have a wound somewhere in our lives of not feeling heard.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, somebody didn't hear you. It may go all the way to having a very traumatic childhood, to having just that teacher that didn't understand you or whatever. And so if you can be the person that makes other people feel heard, that's going to build trust and connection for everyone. Sure. But then even more for groups that traditionally have less power or can be more fearful or needing of connection, they have a deeper need to feel heard.
Would you say that that's women? Is that the category you're speaking of? Or
I would say that that's women as a group who generally have had less power in society. I mean, that's just how it is, right? And so women have a really deep need to feel heard too, because we need the connection. What was that?
Because we haven't been sometimes.
Yeah, because we haven't been.
Yeah. So this is very timely. It's so funny how, I mean, I booked this with you so long ago, and the same thing with my podcast yesterday. But both happen to be very timely for everything that's going on right now, because there's so many conversations that need to be had, and so many sensitivities, and so much rage, and so much anger, and so much hurt. So this is extremely timely. The perfect time for us to all learn how to have safer conversations with other individuals, not just women. But let's like focus specifically on women. So tell me exactly what it means to have a safe conversation, and what does it look like?
Sure. So I want to just drop a little brain science on you for everybody to hear. to understand what safe conversations does. So when people are flooded or triggered, they're in the midbrain, which is, well, actually they can be in two places: lower brain, which is fight, flight, or freeze. And that's when people are triggered, they're very upset. And so that's when people are going to get very defensive. They're going to do things that may seem very erratic and things like that. That's the lower brain. The midbrain is your amygdala. This is your emotional center of your brain. And when people are in their amygdala, they're not capable of being rational. They're very emotional. And so you can't really have a rational conversation with someone who's emotional. They need to know their emotions are heard first before you can get into any sort of problem solving or like, let's make a plan, or this is what we're going to do with that, or whatever. And then your frontal cortex is, of course, your irrational part of your brain. So what Safe Conversations does is it moves people out of lower or midbrain into their frontal cortex so that you can have a conversation that is productive.
Which is amazing, which is absolutely wonderful. Well, so it's funny because I had never really, I'd heard the word trigger before, but I didn't really fully understand it until my husband and I started working with a couples counselor. And as soon as she gave us a larger explanation of being triggered, she didn't explain it the same way that you just did, but actually the way that you explained it is a bit better. That like you're literally not a sane person when you're triggered, because you're just like in fight or flight mode. You're like a little child spinning around in craziness. So I love that you just spelled that out for us and explained it.
Yeah. And that's why Safe Conversations, again, is so useful in so many areas, because everybody gets flooded and everybody gets triggered. We all have wounds that we carry that are affected by that. So again, the biggest way to build trust and connection with a woman is to show her that she is heard and that what she's saying makes sense. You don't have to agree with it, but what she's saying makes sense. You make sense. Don't you feel good when I just told you that?
Yes.
I make sense.
And irrational, exactly. And so for the guys that are listening, most of them are single right now, or maybe in the beginning stages of dating somebody. How does this type of conversation apply? Because like, so a big concern for many who are listening could be, if I do this too early, I may seem needy, or I may seem like I'm putting you on a pedestal, or I may appear as if my thoughts and feelings don't matter and it's all about you. I know we're going to do an example of safe conversations so that you can help with that, but like how do guys apply safe conversations even in the beginning stages without falling into that category of potentially seeming too needy or too eager?
Well, I think the more you practice it, the more you can make it an art, and it just seems like it flows right into the conversation. So it doesn't look like you're doing anything. You're just having a conversation. You're just responding to what someone says. So I'll go over the structure of it a little bit, and we can demonstrate it, and then we can see how that can be incorporated. So it's a 3-step deal. It's a 3-step process. The first step is called mirroring, which is basically clarifying what the person said. And the really important thing about that is that, two things. One thing that I'd like to say about mirroring is that I read the statistic that 84% of things that we hear, we didn't hear it correctly. And this is not just in conflict. This is just listening to things, because as people are talking, it's like the game of telephone. You interpret it based on your worldview, your whatever's going on in your subconscious, all of that stuff. And then it can come out as something else. So the clarifying is really important. And going back to the brain science, when you start clarifying, if somebody is in a lower or midbrain, you get them into their frontal cortex. And this is why. So if you're telling me something and I say, oh, Marnie, let me see if I got that. You said blah, blah, blah. Well, now what you're doing is you are listening to see if I'm accurate from what you just said. So it's getting you into your thinking brain of going, oh, okay, I need to check for accuracy. And for me, it's keeping me out of being defensive, because I know that that I'm just trying to understand what you're saying. So it keeps me in a place of understanding without judging. That's a big part of safe conversations, is that there's no judgment. So
Right.
the first thing is the mirroring. So I say, let me see if I got that. You said, and again, these are sentence stems that they use that is very structured. As you're getting the art of this, and again, this is why you can really make it very natural. You don't have to say these exact things, but I'm going to teach you the sentence stems. So let me see if I got that. You said, and then I'll repeat what you said. And then I say, did I get that? And you can tell me. And if I didn't, then you can tell me things I didn't get. And then I make sure I got that. And then the next step is to say, is there more about that? A lot of times we want to ask questions, and a lot of times questions can be leading, or we might want to apologize or something like that. But it really takes the emphasis off of what the other person is saying to do that. And so, is there more about that? Is just a very nice open-ended question that opens up the conversation. And so that's the first step, is the mirroring. Let me see if I got that. You said, and then is there more about that? Until the person says, no, there's no more about that. That's the first step.
Okay. I love
And
that.
then the second step is validating. And again, you don't have to agree to validate. But what you're doing is, if you're doing the first step and you're really hearing what they're saying and repeating it back to them, you're getting an idea of what their worldview is around whatever they're saying. Whether you agree or not, you're starting to understand them. And so then you can say, well, that makes sense, or you make sense. That makes sense because blah, blah, blah. And again, you don't have to agree with this, but it just makes sense that they would feel or think this way because of what they already said.
Right.
So, and that one is huge. The validation piece is huge
Can you explain
because,
why it's so like why it's so huge for women specifically?
oh yeah, happy to do that. What happens here, and I've seen this a lot in my communications with like my husband and other men and things like that, is guys, they really care about your feelings. I've seen, and that what they want to do at this next step is to tell you not to feel that way. They
Mhm.
want to say like, oh, don't feel sad because of this, or they want to give you advice that helps you to not feel that way, because they really don't want you to feel bad, especially if it's caused by them, and that's the worst, I mean, because they're very caring. And but what happens with that? That totally backfires for men, because it's like you're poking the bear then. That tends to get women more upset, because what we really want you to know, or what we really want to know, is that what we said makes sense to you. Because a lot of us have been told our whole lives to stop taking up so much space, you're being irrational, or you're doing this or that. And if you're the guy that says you make sense, oh my gosh, just me saying it to myself makes me feel good. I'm like going to cry, but it really builds trust to be able to tell someone their worldview makes sense based on what they said. Again, don't have to agree, because that's the next step really to building empathy. All of these parts of a tune that I talked about earlier, you're going through all these as you're doing this, because this is part of the non-defensive listening, which is really hard to do. But if you have this great tactic that I'm telling you about that's structured, it really keeps you in that place. But yeah, the more a woman feels that she makes sense to you, the more that she's just going to feel safe with you.
Yeah. And in turn, the more she's going to give to you, right?
Absolutely. Oh yeah, because that's what we want to do. As women, we want to give so much. We want to give so much of ourselves emotionally, physically, all of this stuff. But we really need the feeling of safety first, because we feel unsafe all the time. Women don't take the trash out at night. Women are looking around them as they walk to their cars. Like, we live in a world where we're vigilant all the time. And of course, we want to feel safe, and we would love to feel safe with you.
Yeah. Well, but so it's interesting for a lot of guys who are like, wait, how do they not feel safe with us? Because we're there, we're potentially their husband or their boyfriend. But exactly what you have been talking about is that if you don't have this part of the safety down, you have all of the rest of that stuff. But there is going to always be this underlying tension there because of, I don't even know how to describe it. I'm trying to think of for myself, like when my husband and I are in a space where we're not connected in that way, and he has said things like, oh, that's irrational, or not really validating my feelings, I tend to pull back and
Mm-hmm.
become closed off. Like that's like what I just did right there is the feeling that I get, and that's the way that I perform in our household. I act from that place.
Yep.
And then as soon as we do have a conversation where we can be calm and he can actually validate my feelings or go through exactly, you're going to do the third step as well, but like go through that whole process, it does like let me breathe for a second and just open back up to him. So it's extremely important. Yeah.
It really is. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. And
Sorry to cut you off, but I just wanted to add in that little piece.
no, that was great. I mean, I was going to kind of basically go into that so
Oh,
that
sorry.
what you're saying makes sense, Marnie. I love it.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Now I want to sit with you.
Now you feel very open with me.
Yes, exactly.
And again, this other question of, is there more about that? You can add this into the validation piece. You say, well, what you're saying is makes sense because of whatever. And again, guys, you don't have to get this right. The fact that you're trying to understand her, that goes a long way, because then if you say, did I get that? And she says, no, it's okay, because then she's going to tell you, well, no, you didn't get it, but this is how I feel, because she sees that you're trying. And that's huge again, because that builds trust. I mean, it's like, oh, wow, he's trying to understand me. I love this. This makes me feel so good. So yeah, that's the next step. The third step is empathizing. And in that third step, the STEM sentence I'm going to give you is, I can imagine you might be feeling. And again, guys, you don't have to get this right. Just try something. Overwhelmed is a good one, because we as women feel overwhelmed a lot. There's a lot of things we're always processing.
Yes, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. But I mean, I wouldn't use that as your go-to. When my husband used it, we still kind of laugh, because I told him that early on in dating. But just try to think of a feeling word. I mean, just trust your gut, whatever comes to your mind, just try. And then, you can just say, did I get that feeling? And she can say yes. And, then you're really her hero. Or she can, you're still her hero because you're trying. And then she can say, well, no, but I do feel this way. And maybe even as she's talking to you, she doesn't know quite how she feels. And you putting something out and her saying, no, that's not it, helps her get to what it is. And
Yeah.
so that's awesome too.
Mhm.
So it's all beautiful.
I love it. So can we do a little sample? I was actually going to base a sample on a question from one of my email coaching clients. He had been dating a girl recently for about a month, but she came to him, and I'm going to play the part of the woman, and you can play the part of him. Let's call him D. And she came to him and basically just dumped on him and said, you know what, it really seems like we're on different pages, and that you don't have enough time for me. And I don't think that we should see each other anymore.
Okay. Well, let me see if I got this. So you're saying that it really seems that we're on different pages, and you don't think we should see each other anymore. Did I get that?
Yeah, because I expect to have more communication, so more texting during the week and more times that we actually see each other. But it doesn't seem like you want any of that, because you're not texting anymore and you're not initiating to get together with me. And so obviously you want something different.
So you'd really like a lot more communication from me. And it seems that maybe I don't want to be with you because I'm not giving that communication that you want. Did I get that?
Yeah, that's exactly what I think.
Is there more about that?
No, I think that's it.
Okay. Well, it makes sense that you would feel that way, because what you're saying is that me, and again, see, I'm pausing here. It's okay to pause and collect your thoughts, guys, because I'm trying to remember what she said right here, as you will be doing too. So I'll go back into character though. So it makes sense that you would feel that way, because what I'm understanding from what you said is that me communicating with you a lot shows you that I am invested in the relationship. So that makes sense, that because I'm not communicating with you as you would like me to, that you would feel that I'm not invested. Did I get that?
Yeah.
Is there more
Is
about
that
that?
true? Are you invested?
And so you wonder, am I even invested when I'm not communicating?
Yeah, exactly.
And yeah, and so I imagine you must really feel disconnected from me and you don't feel secure in our relationship.
Yeah, definitely. That was
Yeah.
good. I'm ready to jump your bones now.
Thank you.
Well,
Well,
yeah,
and so you said something earlier about being able to then be able to express something back. So this is a time when then I can say to you, can I respond to that? I mean, are you, do you, well, that didn't really sound very good. So again, you can bumble through this, guys, because I'm doing it right now.
yeah.
But um,
But just to say,
would
like,
you?
you're bumbling through, but it's not affecting me at all. I'm not thinking like, oh, you're totally screwing up. I'm thinking you're trying.
Yeah, see, exactly.
Yeah,
Yes.
I was trying to communicate as much like from the emotional state rather than like a, pristine put together, but like a charged emotional state. So this is typically how I even talk to my husband, from an emotional state without, being calm and collected. So
Yeah. And as I'm talking to you, I'm feeling like, oh my gosh, that is not my intention. And I do want to say something about what my intention is. So as I'm going through and just validating, I just want to validate to you guys. I know this is really hard to not respond right away and just be in that place of validating and empathizing. But now Marnie's really open to what my feedback might be. And so now I can ask you, Marnie, is it okay now if I respond to what you said?
yeah, of course.
Well, I just want to tell you that I did not realize that the communication was that important to you. And I'm definitely going to do more of that. And I appreciate you telling me about this. And I just I feel bad because I do really like you, and I want you to know that. And so thank you for telling me ways to show you. So I'm now you would like me to send you more texts and communicate with you more. Is that what you were saying?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Would love that. Maybe like one a day would be nice.
One a day? Okay. Well, thank you for sharing.
Oh, thanks for listening. I mean, I this is all fake, but I feel really good.
And
It
it's
is
funny
crazy. And it's
because
hard
say
to do. It's hard to do in the moment. And this does take practice. So,
yeah.
like, the wonderful thing about right now is that most communication is going to be done at a distance, especially in the beginning of dating, because I will say most people are not completely comfortable with confrontation right away. So, if you know that confrontation is coming up, you can have a little cheat sheet written beside you or on your phone and just pull it up and just like say, okay, well, what do I say in that moment? So that you're not, you still may fumble through it, but maybe not completely fumbling through it, trying to figure it out. And as Terah showed, it doesn't have to be said perfectly, but just in that the tone that she was using, and just even those simple words that she used for the three different steps are like more than enough. You don't even really need much more than that. So this was wonderful.
Yeah. And can I use the past? I know we just have a few minutes left, but I'd like to give guys their cheat sheet that they
Yes,
can write
give it,
down. Okay.
please.
So first step, guys, mirroring. And so mirroring the STEM word you can use, the STEM sentence you can use is let me see if I got that. You said. And then you can ask the question, did I get that? And then there is the question, is there more about that? Okay. So then the next step is validating. And so the stem that you can use for that is that makes sense because that's really my favorite because I like the because.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can just say you make sense. That one is really nice too. But
Makes
I
total
personally like the
sense.
because it really showed how much you were listening. But if you're like if your face is getting red and you're getting overwhelmed, you make sense is still great. Um, and then you can even ask, is there more? Each one, is there more about that, is a beautiful question. And then the third step is empathy. And you would say, then, I imagine you might be feeling, and throw something out. And each time you can always ask, did I get that? So the questions you can keep asking are, is, did I get that? And is there more about that?
What are three other key words for men to guess with if they can't figure out what's going on? So overwhelmed was
Oh,
one.
emotionally. Okay.
Yeah.
Overwhelmed, hurt, disconnected,
Yes.
I think those are three
Yeah.
ones. Usually, if a woman is coming to you with a complaint, those are the ones. Now, however, let me tell you, you can use this in just whatever. She can be telling you about her day at work, and you can use this. It is a true superpower. I use it like really quickly sometimes with people that I'm on the phone with, and I need something from them. So if I'm calling customer service, I'll give them a little bit of tactical empathy. And then that goes a really long way to getting things that I need.
Mhm.
So, I mean, just
It's a
saying.
tactic. It's
It
a
is.
polite tactic. There's not, and it's like as long as it's used with good intention, or I mean, just wanting good customer service, then
Yeah.
it's no matter what, you're making somebody feel good, right? So
Yes.
today there is always a positive for everybody. You're getting what you want, and that other person feels good about giving it to you.
Yeah. And, you know, especially as you're talking about the timeliness of talking about safe conversations, the shirt I'm wearing right now says love is the answer, but this is coming to getting the connection that you need or to be heard in a way that is loving.
Yeah. And I think it's
So,
wonderful. And this can be used at every stage of the relationship. As you said, somebody coming in from being very stressed or having, even on a first date, if a woman's like, oh gosh, it's so hard to get here. I had a very stressful day, blah, blah. Even on that first date, showcasing this
oh,
kind
yeah.
of communication is just wonderful. And then you can go into flirting and having fun. But starting off, right away with connecting is
Yep.
amazing. Okay, good.
And then
Because
as
I
you,
was going to say, like, you answered the questions perfectly. Because I know that for a lot of guys, that they think if they're too emotional or too supportive with women, especially in the beginning stages, it can come off as needy and it can come off as wimpy or beta, whatever term you want to throw around to describe it. But what you've actually showcased is extremely masculine. It's like
it
that
is.
teddy bear leader, big man that you want to cuddle up with kind of communication. And there's
Yeah.
nothing wimpy about that, which I
It's
love.
very manly. I mean, like I said, it's used in hostage negotiation, this kind
Right.
of communication. And so how manly can you get? But, you know, like that's awesome. But yeah, I mean, when I feel heard, um, I feel I feel like I just want to open up all of myself to you, you know? I
Yeah.
mean, and I feel protected.
Yeah, that's a wonderful word because that is exactly how you feel. You just like want to cuddle up with somebody. I'm gonna
Yeah.
break you off. I'm so sorry that I have to cut this short again. Because I could go and talk to you about this forever. But guys, I'm gonna post this in the group. I don't even know what it's called in the feed in a couple of hours, so that you can watch this if you weren't able to before. You can watch this again. But again, Tara, I'm stumbling over my words. What's wrong with me? But Tara and I wrote an amazing program called Beyond Attraction. If you haven't gotten it yet, I would definitely suggest going and getting it because you can learn more about attune, which is what she mentioned at the beginning of this call. And we walk you through step by step how to use attune, what attune is, and why it can be so helpful in your communication with women so that you can build trust and deeper connection with them for every single woman in your life, for your mom, your sister, your girlfriend, your boss, your employees, whatever it is. It's just a wonderful way to connect and build trust. But Tara, thank you so much for coming on. Do you want to tell people how to get in touch with you if they want more information from you?
Absolutely. So you can go to taraharrison.com. That's my website. If you want to learn more about Safe Conversations, which is created by Harville Hendricks and Helen LaKelly Hunt, then you can go to safeconversations.com. And I also, if you'd like me to do a corporate workshop or any kind of workshop for you, you can contact me via my website because I teach the workshops in this all the time. I love it. It's fun.
Amazing. And I'm so sorry to race you off. I love you. I think you're wonderful.
Love you
But
too,
guys,
Marty.
I'll see you guys later. Sorry I didn't get to answer any of those questions, but send them to the group and somebody will answer them, probably me. All right. See you. Bye.